global environment. Okay, so before I get into these various points which really describe this uncertainty, let me first tell you uncertain, the word, okay, or uncertainty is nothing but many unknown factors. For example, none of us could imagine that there could be COVID or Corona in 2021. Hello, ये
Yes, sir, you're
repeat हो
audible,
रहा है.
sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
ये repeat हो रहा है.
नहीं, sir, it is coming very clear to me.
नहीं, मैंने जो बात करी ना वही अभी रिपीट हुई. हेलो.
Yes, sir, but sir, it sounds clear to me. Do any
नहीं,
participants can you please tell? Is there a problem? You can write in the chat box.
नहीं, मैंने जो अभी बोला, मैंने जो रिपीट हुई बोला है ना वही अभी रिपीट हो रहा है.
So is it okay? So is it still getting repeated?
कि मैंने कुछ बोला ही नहीं है अभी.
Hello.
What is happening? Whatever he has spoken, it is coming again. Then we are seeing the same thing. So he couldn't speak.
Okay, but ma'am,
Up.
I am not getting any repeated sounds.
No, but he is not able to speak because we are listening the same thing what he has spoken just 1 minute ago.
Let me check with the IT team, ma'am. Just a minute.
To the point.
Sir, I've called the IT person. Maybe she can help. सर जो बोल रहे हैं ना उनको कह रहे हैं मतलब मेरे को नहीं आना बट उनको कह रहे हैं कि वो दोबारा रिपीट हो रहा है मतलब जो वो बोल रहे हैं वापस उनको साउंड आ रहा है स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा अभी तक ठीक चल रहा था यहाँ पे सही है ना सेंड लाइव और स्टार्ट सही चल रहा है ना
Am I audible?
Yes sir, you are absolutely audible sir.
जी.
Sir, is it fine at your end now?
Now it is fine.
Fine sir, you can continue then sir.
नहीं, ये स्टेटमेंट अभी मैंने किया ही नहीं था. Am I audible?
अच्छा.
हाँ.
Yeah, it is. There is a lag. Lag is coming, I think.
Do we rejoin again?
Yeah, I think.
I think.
Yeah. Okay sir. Ma'am, you can rejoin from his end.
Yeah, I will leave and rejoin again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. It is
Yeah.
visible.
Yes.
I
now
hope
I
you
will
have
sh-
that problem.
Yeah,
is
now
okay,
it is. Now it is clear. I will share the.
screen.
Oh, sorry. Please, होती slide.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
And this
Hi. Is it okay?
Are the members okay? Can they see the slide? Please reply in the chat box. Can any member reply? Is the screen visible?
Am I audible? Dr. Kimi, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible to me, sir.
Ah,
Slightly hazy. Yeah. So you're audible and visible to them also, sir. So you
okay,
can
very
start
good.
then.
Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
So friends, sorry for a little technical disturbance, but I think it is now pretty clear and I'm visible and audible also. We were talking about uncertain global environment. If you ask me, while writing my book, Economics of Survival, I studied 14 well-known economies, great economies, which have been influencing the globe both positively and negatively. Economics of Survival is my latest book. Why am I referring to this book? Because my research says the global uncertainty is very visible, very serious, very threatening, and it has got its shape in last 3 to 4 decades, very recent. I would say since 1990 to 2025. Now, 300 years before, okay, longer period, we saw that the global economies were shaping up, developing. Okay, so that was a very, very natural uncertainty. What uncertainty we find today is mostly man-made. Imagine after the corona COVID we sorted out, the entire global supply chain has become inefficient. Okay, as a result, if you look at the points or the factors which I'm showing you through my presentation, okay, the first factor is disturbances in the global supply chain. We are, I would say, fortunate that our old friend Russia is offering us crude oil at a cheaper rate, cheaper price. Okay, whereas the relationship between Russia and most of the European countries, okay, is under terrible pressure. They are not able to accept Russian gas and oil. This is just an example. So disturbances in the global supply chain are very clear. Now, one example here, and some of you may ask me, then how does it relate to be management accountants? If you remember, during Corona and after Corona, most of the SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, and even little bigger enterprises, they were facing the problem of churning, routing, or I would say the turnover of working capital. The recovery was not possible from the markets because it was a Corona period. Employees were to be employed and paid their wages. There was no production, no sale. How do you manage working capital, okay, in an uncertain era like this? The other example could be very important. Today's rate of inflation. This is my technical submission. If our government declares a certain rate of inflation, okay, say 6%. For you and me, it is around 9%. It's a thumb rule. So we should add 3% to it. Now, during inflationary days, okay, how do we use accounting for changing price levels? In a sense, under inflation, there is a terrible pressure on working capital. Okay, on one side, we want to grow our volume, grow our business. On the other side, there is an inflationary pressure, okay, on inventory valuation, recovery of receivables, okay, treasury management, and so on. So, friends, the very impact of uncertainty in global supply chain, okay, is directly on our working capital, right? Number two, reduce the dependence on China for its geopolitical aggression. Some of our cost accountants may be aware of it, that their companies were sourcing lot of raw material or even commodities from China, because China has got many distinctive advantages. Now we find that China is under suspicion. Therefore, companies after companies are now thinking seriously, okay, not to depend on China alone for the what you call procurement, the supply as such. The third factor is high cost of crude oil and gases leading to global inflation. The present price of crude oil hovering around $60 is okay. But imagine if the supplies of crude oil get messed up, okay, between Iran and Russia, Russia and Kuwait, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, etc., then the import bill of oil and gases of India, okay, which is around 70 to 72% of our entire imports as such, okay, would be under terrible pressure, again leading to the impact of inflation. Number four, excessive impact of nationalism on economic and business cooperation. Now, the very visible example today is of the President of America, what Mr. Trump is talking about. So some of our management accountants who are working in, say, USA for that matter, okay, must be thinking very seriously and trying to interpret what statement Mr. Trump made. So excessive impact of nationalism. With uncertainty in the global supply chain, each and every country is thinking that I should reduce my dependence on global factors and global supply chain. Okay, to an extent, I should depend on my neighbors, but not beyond. Imagine India surrounded by our neighbors, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka. So we are South Asia. Then slightly beyond, okay, are the countries, okay, on the left side, Iran, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Oman, right? On the southern side, southern eastern side are countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. So we want to reduce our dependence on far off supply chains and try to depend on our close by neighbors. Why? Because there is an excessive nationalism played by many global leaders. Look at Mr. Xi or Mr. Xi, as you pronounce the president of China. For that matter, Netanyahu, the president or the head of Israel, Mr. Putin of Russia. Okay. Now each one of them is talking about extreme nationalism. This also has added to the global uncertainty. The next factor is growing redundance of WTO and World Bank. During the last 3.5 decades, there was a very clear monopoly of countries like America and some of its alliances from Europe. The monopoly in the design of WTO and World Bank. Rather, I would say 90% of the monopoly's control was in the hands of Americans. But lately, I would say in last 10 to 15 years, the relevance of WTO, which is the sole mechanism of global economy, okay, the redundance is gradually growing. Like again, the American presidents made a statement that WTO has been hijacked by countries like China, Brazil, Russia, India, the BRIC countries. So what is going to be the role of WTO? Therefore, what would happen to the tariffs? Okay, international GST, etc., etc. Now, GST is a subject matter of specialist management accountants. Naturally, it will also impact Indian GST. Look at World Bank, which is, a very important financing, economic monitoring kind of agency. the relevance of World Bank is also reducing, because the second largest economy called China, okay, is now wanting to lead the growth. And therefore, wherever there is an American dominance, China is creating a parallel dominance to it. This is also adding to uncertainty. Number 6, triggers of a possible world war. In my recent article on USA, I wrote about some 4 or 5 triggers of a possible third world war. So we professional accountants should look at these global uncertainties, okay, and try to help our clients or our companies reshape, revise the strategic plan. Normally, we prepare a strategic plan for 5 years. Now imagine 2025 to 2030. What would happen to the global market? How will it impact my company, our performance? For example, again, there is a clear-cut rift, conflict between Russia and the European countries. Okay, the reason is Ukraine and then Poland. So the European countries, the European Union is now thinking about what to add to their war weapons. This will impact their economies. If this impacts their economies, it will also impact us if we are exporting and importing from and to the European countries. Okay, so possible world war. There is another example on account of Israel and Iran. Okay, third example could be in the South China Sea. South China Sea, okay, is under terrible pressure, and therefore countries like China, Philippines, for that matter, Myanmar, Malaysia, okay, all these are into a conflict, and that also could be a trigger for the third world war. And then, of course, we know what North Korea is doing. What North Korea is doing to Japan, to South Korea, etc., is also a trigger. And the last one could be at Venezuela, which is a Latin American country. Venezuela is very rich with oil and gas reserves, but that also could be a very potent reason for possible world war. So I think I briefly told you a very important factor that would complicate the global uncertainty furthermore. Okay. Now, therefore, number 7 is reduced capital formation worldwide. Okay. This is economic concept. What has happened to capital formation in India? Okay, with reducing interest rates on fixed deposits and one after another, the collapses of couple of banks. Okay, a common Indian is now thinking, is my fixed deposit safe in a bank? Okay, quite a few reputed banks, they have cancelled their non-productive assets. They have written off. So that impacts the fixed deposits of the bank. So where is the safety of a depositor? Capital formation is very important. The rate of capital formation in almost all the countries, including India, has come down. And therefore, especially Indian SMEs are facing a very serious problem of capital or fund supplies. Now here comes a strategic role for a management accountant. How do we guide our client when there is not enough capital formation in the system and getting capital from the banks is becoming more and more difficult? So on one side, we have an interesting scenario that the banks want to finance us, not like 1990, those days, okay, some three and a half decades back. So today, banks are ready to finance, but that financing, the process of financing has also become complex. Okay. Number 8 is concentration of wealth in the hands of 1% people and the rapidly growing economic inequality. Let me refer back to India. Okay, in last, I would say 3 decades, economic inequality in India has gone up, but it has also gone up in a developed country like USA. In USA, around 30 to 35% of the nation's wealth is in the hands of 1% Americans. You can imagine the economic inequality. Now, how does it impact the economy? The government gets into a very critical dilemma. On one side, it wants to spend more on infrastructure and development. Funds are required. But on the other side, it has to continue with those subsidies for the weaker sections. It has to offer direct and indirect subsidies, concessions, etc. to the weaker population. And that puts a pressure on the union budget, the budget of the country. Number 9, you look at the factor again, growing importance of agriculture, small and medium enterprises, and local economics in the light of global warming and other calamities. I remind you, 2021-22, we all were worried. Okay, about what? Where would be the end of Corona? So many of my friends from Mumbai, I live in Mumbai, okay, they decided to have one more house outside Mumbai. Okay, some business outside Mumbai, especially my friends who own SMEs or who own, I would say, other businesses. Agriculture has become suddenly very, very important, even in the eyes of the bankers. Now, one area of strategic management accounting here is agricultural output costing, product costing. Our institute is doing a lot of work in this arena. But we management accountants, we have to look at the entire value chain of agriculture, not just agricultural output pricing. Okay, how do we do the costing and pricing of various elements those go into agriculture? Okay, for example, costing pricing of a tractor. Okay, the components of a tractor. Okay, otherwise also costing pricing of the seeds, costing pricing of fertilizers. There is a vast scope for the management accountants to guide the farmers and farmer unions and also those dealers and distributors who deal in agriculture related infrastructure, like dealers of tractors, dealers of, I would say, agricultural machination, machines, etc. Okay. Now, this growing importance of agriculture. Agriculture was there yesterday in India. Today it is there. Tomorrow it would be there. But today also 50% of Indian employment is generated or not so well generated by agriculture. Okay. And what should we talk about? SMEs. Okay. A lot of discussion has been done about the financing of SMEs. But then there is an interesting scope here for the management accountants. Those management accountants who are outside India, they can also think and look at the SMEs in countries like, say, Canada, USA, Sri Lanka, for that matter, UK, Australia. Management accountants from India have gone to all these major countries, Singapore, etc. So how do we help SMEs? We Indian management accountants are known for our creative thinking. Okay. Why? Because there are so many interdependent and independent factors which have been impacting Indian economy, and we are used to handle this complexity. So naturally, we can help, guide, support SMEs in different countries. Number 10 is complex economic variables and artificial intelligence impacting the doctrine of accounting. I already spoke to you economic variables, inflation, power of the currency, supply chain, distribution chain, fiscal policies of a country. These are economic variables. Now, what is the additional complexity? Artificial intelligence. Okay. Now, generative artificial intelligence has proved to be very useful, very helpful for we management accountants. Imagine you are a cost accountant or a management accountant in an automobile manufacturing company where more than 1,000 automobile spare parts are made or procured from the vendors. Now, how do you use AI for the data-centric decision making? What was the price movement in last 5-6 years? How will it behave in near future? How will it behave in long term? Now, artificial intelligence is a great tool that we should be able to handle, okay, to enrich our performances. So friends, therefore, I now come to a very important discussion. What are the 6 new dimensions of management accounting in the global context, okay, in the global arena with a global reference. And friends, in my overall discussion today, this discussion is most important. 6 new dimensions of management accounting in the global context. Okay. Number 1, emphasis on strategic application of management accounting. Now this statement looks simple, but what does it mean? We must understand it with an example. Now take the example of a country called Oman, Muscat, or Dubai and Sharjah, or for that matter, Jeddah from Saudi Arabia. Why am I taking these examples from the Gulf countries? The reason is very interesting, and that creates a scope for the management accountants. What is the scope here? In general, a local citizen, Arabic citizen, okay, of an Arabic country, is lesser efficient compared with an Indian employee there, compared with an Indian expatriate there. Okay, but the local Arab would get a salary 3 times of a salary of an Indian. So 3 into 3, the difference is 9 times. Now, we were invited by the government of Oman, okay, for the application of strategic management accounting. Okay, but then what it is? Number 1, very important analysis was, and what was the analysis? Should we make the salaries of expat employees in Oman taxable? Okay, so that they would spend more in the cities of Oman. They would send lesser money to their hometown in India. Okay. Or the long-term approach was, how do we look after currency valuation of Oman, or for that matter, Saudi Arabia or UAE? Now, it comes back to what? Strategic application of management accounting. Another example could be, now we all know the business in Gulf countries, except oil and gas, the entire business is trading. There is very, very limited manufacturing. Okay, or I would say it is assembly. No real manufacturing. Okay, so what is the management accounting application here? Countries after countries from Gulf, they procure 90% of their commodities from outside. So their import bill is very high. Okay, so in the pricing and costing, what would happen to Mr. Trump in America if many commodities come from America, Europe, okay, Taiwan, South Korea, China to the Gulf countries? So under uncertainty, what should be the pricing and costing of the commodities in a Gulf city where the government wants to subsidize? The second new dimension is furthermore interesting. The synergy combination of managerial economics and management accounting. So friends, I make a humble request to all of you. You must have studied business economics, managerial economics, micro, that is MICRO economics during your graduation of our institute or BCom graduation. Brush up your knowledge of managerial economics. Why? Because there is going to be a growing synergy between managerial economics and management accounting. Very interesting. Okay. For example, marginal costing in management accounting and marginal cost in economics are 2 different concepts. Okay, but both are interdependent, both are connected. Okay. So for an established capacity, manufacturing capacity, okay, how do you help your client for long-term pricing and costing of the commodity? Let me simplify this example further. Now, I have put up a manufacturing capacity for my company of say 100 tons. But in year 1, I could use only 30%. Okay, because I am not very well known in the market. 70% was unused capacity. Now, how do I recover? Okay, the fixed cost of that unused capacity Over what period of time? How will it reflect or impact on my pricing and costing? Will the customer pay for it tomorrow or day after? Don't know. Again, it comes back to what? Uncertainty, business uncertainty on micro level, and therefore pricing and costing. Okay. Now, synergic combination of managerial economics and management accounting, there can be a second bigger example. Now, what is the second bigger example? We experienced this with a well-known corporate in Mumbai. One business vertical was not doing well. Okay, in terms of what? Sales, top line. So bottom line profitability was under pressure. But potentially this business vertical was very good. So management and owners, they knew this business vertical is under pressure for a couple of years, but we should continue. But the challenge here was continue with what corrections? Should there be corrections in product costing and pricing that we are losing market to our competition? Or should we bring some fresh capital which is lesser costly, reduce interest costs? Should we reduce labor costs? There was no clear conclusion. So it was economics of business and management accounting. Third factor, dimension, we recently spoke, using artificial intelligence as an effective tool of decision support science. I remind you, friends, we used to call our institute as ICWA, Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. Okay, now we are ICAI and we are CMA. So long back when I did my program of our institute, we had a subject called Operations Research, Decision Support Science, which is very useful. Couple of algorithms from operations research, if I remind you, linear programming, simplex method, okay, allocation model, queuing theory, right? So a couple of them are even useful today. We can use them in management accounting. Now you can imagine if we club those mathematical models from operations research with artificial intelligence, okay, it would give a fantastic result. Okay, because sourcing data in India is a challenge. Lot of Indian data from the corporate sector is not available for even benchmarking, because corporates who compete with each other, they may be members of the Chamber of Commerce, but sharing data, helping each other is not happening in a real sense. Okay, therefore, using decision support science without adequate authentic data in India is difficult. Now, who should come to our rescue? Artificial intelligence. Okay, so my request to all of you, handling global uncertainty and its impact on my company in India, how do I apply AI? Is a very important new dimension of management accounting. Number 4, growing need of international and intranational domestic benchmarks. Okay, now quite a few new industries and opportunities are growing, especially in the service sector. Say example, India can become a hub of what? A hub of medical services. Indian doctors are great, hospitals are okay, but our medical services compared with global prices, okay, are reasonably cheap and assured. Okay, now how do we do medical service pricing and costing? Okay, one Chennai-based hospital approached us, and it said to us that there are many patients or clients coming from outside India. So on one side, it is an opportunity to charge them a differential price, okay, and increase profitability. But on the other side, it was also a question of price transparency, cost transparency. Say, many patients from the Gulf countries, many, I would say almost 75%, they come to India because India is close by. Indian culture is very close to their culture. They can manage with Urdu or Hindi here. They know Indian doctors who are very intelligent. Okay, but the question here is growing need of pricing benchmarks. costing benchmarks. Like we all know, medical services are not only costly but are very time consuming in countries like America, Canada, Australia, for that matter, UK. I'm talking about developed nations. Okay. But those pricing costing benchmarks are also important in India for the Indian hospitals who want to be internationally known. मैं उनके नाम नहीं लूंगा, but there are quite a few of them. Number 5, application of holistic accounting. I may call it as 360-degree accounting. Holistic accounting. Now, what does it mean? During last 2.5 decades, when we open up our economy, many foreign companies, okay, they came down to India, developed joint ventures with Indian companies, say British Petroleum and Reliance, a very well-known example. Okay, but then any foreign company coming to India would be doing what? A cost benefit analysis. If we come to India and India government would offer us some concessions and subsidies, okay, but what about the restrictions on withdrawing profit, sending profit back home through dividends or maybe royalties for using, say, brands and technology? All this requires holistic accounting. Okay, even Indian companies going to Gulf, Indian companies going to China, Indian companies going to Europe or to Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, they also are looking for those management accountants who can combine economics and management accounting together and conduct holistic accounting. इसका simple meaning क्या है? If I am invited by Australian government to put up a factory, okay, how will it really benefit me in long run? My cost of production may go up because 70-80% of my employees would be Australian. So my wage bill will shoot up. Okay, but then what about the other opportunities? Can I translate them into accounting or numerical numbers, and that too for a longer period, not for 1 year alone? So application of holistic accounting is another new dimension of management accounting in the global context. And the 6th one is a pragmatic system to convert the technical and qualitative parameters into financial numbers, preferably with weightages. A difficult area to handle. Okay, but this again, see, if an area is difficult, challenging, is also equally important that it is offering us a new opportunity. Sorry. So something which is difficult is also very rewarding. There are n number of examples where we management accountants come across a difficulty. What is that? There are many technical operations, say manufacturing processes, procurement processes, marketing and sales processes. Okay, there are many technical operations and some of them are qualitative. How do we convert those into financial numbers? Especially when the company is working on a new project. So project viability, if I refer back to say IRR, NPV, okay, ARR, average rate of return, okay, or I would say even payback period, all these are becoming now challenging. For a reason, more and more corporate managements are expecting we accountants to convert the technicality of a project into financial figures. Okay, and that makes the comparison difficult. Imagine there are two different machines imported. Okay, one machine is coming from Germany and the second machine is coming from Australia. There's a currency differentiation, quality differentiation, feature-wise differentiation, capacity or size-wise differentiation. So it is not apple to apple comparison. It may be apple to mango, or maybe even mango to banana, don't know. Now, how do we make this comparison easy so that an Indian ambitious company which is transacting internationally, okay, with, I would say, capital budgeting, routine or special capital budgeting, the requirement is how do we convert technical or qualitative parameters into financial numbers. But there is another interesting dimension to this. The other dimension is very powerful and interesting. In India, now many management accountants would agree with me. In India, the management of each and every company is expecting that each employee should be an entrepreneurial employee. Okay, my employee should behave like an entrepreneur. What does it mean? It means a small process some employees are handling, a team is handling, that process should be business for them. So they should treat a process, manufacturing process, okay, as an independent business and do what? Perform in 5 areas. Suppose I'm handling a mechanical manufacturing process. I'm a supervisor and under me there's a team of 10 workers, assistants you can call them. Now what the management expects from us? Number one, if I'm using some machine capacity for that process to carry out that process, am I increasing capacity usage? Okay, but that of course depends on the business growth of the company. But how do I look at the fullest possible use of my machine capacity? Number one. Number two, how do I reduce the cost of processing? Okay, now this cost of processing, we all know basically material, wage cost and overhead cost. Okay, now how do I reduce this cost? How do I help management? Through better employee productivity, better handling use of machine. Number two. Number three also is very qualitative. That my employees are with a productivity 7 out of 10. I want to train them further, empower them, give them some freedom. How will it cost to me and my company? Number three. Number four, can we add to automation? But if I add to automation, it will impact my employment generation. Okay, at least 20% employees will have to be separated. But then should I do that? What is the CBA? Cost benefit analysis. Okay, so technology application, logistic application. Okay, what is the financial conversion of it? And last number 5 is resource management. That is capital management. Again, strategic management accounting is applicable here, especially those who work in the arena of business financing. Okay, would agree with me. Now, what could be the long-term treatment to the rationing of own fund, own capital? Okay, we must tell our client he should not put all eggs in one basket. He should not invest all the own funds in one business. Rather, he should do long-term rationing of own funds. Okay, and depend more on cheaper borrowing. I think some of you may agree with me. The operating ROI of a business, that is profit before interest and tax divided by total investment. We call it operating ROI. Okay, this operating ROI should be lesser than owner's ROI. Or if I make a positive statement, owner's ROI should be greater than operating ROI. We know owner's ROI is paid by own fund. So how do I make owner's ROI bigger than operating ROI? Okay, two variables here. One, how efficiently I use borrowed funds. Number one. And number two, how do I do my long-term tax planning? Okay, now here again, there is a pragmatic system that is required. Okay, which will help my client manage all these variables. So that is the 6th dimension of management accounting in the global context. So friends, let us conclude on this discussion. There is going to be more and more strategic application of management accounting, managerial economics. We're looking at artificial intelligence for decision support system, benchmarking, holistic accounting, and as we said, the number 6 is converting technical parameters and qualitative parameters into financial numbers. अब हम और आगे चलते हैं. So friends, I am taking you slowly, gradually into the deeper and deeper discussion on management accountant's role in an uncertain global context. I forgot to tell you little more about uncertainty. Those who might have attended my yesterday evening presentation, okay, for our institute only, okay, it was about functioning of a CEO, etc. I refer to this uncertainty. Uncertainty is unknown, whereas risk is known. Now, risk is known, so we can broadly measure it, and therefore we can manage it. Uncertainty is unknown. Naturally, we can't measure it, we cannot manage it. And as we said some time back, global uncertainty is a bigger challenge for us. Okay, Indian uncertainty is also a challenge. But then global uncertainty, which is not visible sitting in India, is a much bigger challenge. But that also becomes an opportunity, and therefore these 6 new dimensions of management accounting I discussed with you at little length. We now proceed further. Okay, and this is what most of you must be looking for. Okay, what role a management accountant should play? Okay, should play in an uncertain global environment. There are n number of areas here, and my young friends, young cost and management accountants, please look at this discussion as if I'm discussing with you, okay, about the new areas or scope available to you to perform as a management accountant, whether you are in employment or practice or a consulting role. Okay, let us look at them one by one. Okay, the first one is capturing global risk in benchmarking the risk-weighted ROI. So, can I convert global risk into a financial number? Let me simplify this. Suppose my India business offers me 20% ROI, 20. I am putting up a new factory in Afghanistan. Okay, new business in Afghanistan. So what should be my ROI from Afghanistan? Naturally, I have gone for a bigger risk. So my risk supported ROI, risk weighted ROI from Afghanistan may be 35%. India gives me 20%, Afghanistan 35%. Now within India also, please don't misunderstand me if I make a little funny statement. Within India, most of the South Indian states, okay, are comfortable, okay, with a viewpoint of business environment. Whereas there are quite a few pockets in North India, which even today we find them risky, okay, socially risky, politically risky. So if I illustrate with an example, I am putting up a factory. So should I put up a factory in a semi-metro or a city from North India? Or should I put it in, some city from Tamil Nadu or Kerala or Karnataka or Maharashtra? The risk perceptions are different. So what should be my ROI from South India and what should be my ROI from North India, especially certain pockets of North India? So friends, risk-weighted ROI definition, benchmarking, calculation is very important. Can you guide your SME, okay, who is importing 50% of the raw material or commodities from outside, and therefore we earlier referred to what? Uncertainty in supply chain. Okay, so if my business depends more on imports or more on exports, what is my risk-weighted ROI? Okay, number one. Number two, therefore, based on number one, designing a risk management or mitigation model in the context of global uncertainty. There is one reputed corporate entity in Mumbai. Okay, it has got 14 business verticals. They make soaps and shampoos. They make watches. Okay. They make electric watches. They make electric motors, etc., etc. But all 14 business verticals, they procure their raw material together to get the synergic advantage. And therefore, very nicely, they have created, designed a risk mitigation model. Now, friends, there are 4 risks outside and there are 4 risks inside. We should basically know this. And for this, I refer back to my earlier discussion. Please go back and refresh your understanding of business economics. Okay, so there is a wider discussion in managerial economics. Risk outside the company. Some of you must be aware. I just revise your fundas. Number 1, risk of my economy, inflation, productivity, etc. Number 2, fiscal risk, that is government policies. Number 3, socio-political risk. And number 4, environmental risk, natural environment. So these are external risk. Now, how do I convert these risk into a measurement and therefore into a financial number? Okay, a challenging task, but that also is an opportunity. Then the risk inside, okay, inside the company. Number 1, obviously, technological risk. Number 2, financial risk. For example, a lot of borrowed fund is sitting in my balance sheet, or my cost of borrowing is very high. Okay, and my reserves are low. Third is cultural risk. Okay, to go for inorganic expansion, I have recently acquired some companies and those companies are with a different culture. That has become a challenge for me. So cultural risk. And number 4, structural risk. What is the structure of my business? Is it too bureaucratic, too complex? So decision making and risk handling has become a challenge. When you go back from my presentation, okay, please go back to your company and think about organizational effectiveness. Okay, so organizational effectiveness and financial performance are 2 sides of same coin. Although most of us may not think about organizational effectiveness with a risk perspective. Okay, so risk mitigation model, very challenging area. लेकिन आप अगर बनाकर दे सकते हो अपनी कंपनी को, suddenly you will become a very valuable asset, strategic asset. Although you are a management accountant, you are not a CFO today. लेकिन अगर आपकी CFO बनने की चाहत है, if your ambition is to become a CFO, okay, work on risk mitigation model. Don't underestimate your capabilities. I can tell you, we cost and management accountants from India, okay, although I avoid comparison, but sometimes there is a temptation. We can do a much better job compared to other accounting communities in India, other accountants in India, and even outside India. So when you go back from my presentation to your company, first list down what are the risks your company is facing. Number 2, how do you measure them? Can there be measurement on a scale of 0 to 5 or 0 to 10? Number 3, how do you convert them into a what you call numerical definition? And number 4, how do you convert those numbers which are physical into financial numbers? आप करके देखिए, and my suggestion is something is better than nothing. If you only think about perfection in your model, you may not work out. So it may be 25% imperfect, but 75% perfect, 60% perfect. Work on it. Recently, I requested my son. Okay, he is very good in decision support science and mathematics. So I said to him, should we work on price predictability model, predicting price of a stock? Okay, and that too only with some financial parameters and certain weightages. We are working on it. I am now running 64. Okay, so working on innovation, invention has no age bar. Okay, so think of risk mitigation model. Number 3, defining holistic accounting model to assess the impact of global subsidies and challenges. इसकी हमने बात करी थी. So if you are working in a company which imports or exports directly or indirectly, okay, there is an impact. The impact need not be direct. It can be indirect also. Okay. So how do you apply holistic accounting? Just prepare an A4 size sheet. Holistic accounting. What do we get and what do we give back? So what do we get and what do we give back? Account them. Apply numbers to them. And then tell your company okay, how domestic sourcing may be more beneficial than importing or vice versa. Okay. Number 4, prescribing a simple method to apply AI for visualizing and assessing the pattern of global uncertainty factors. Artificial intelligence. Let us take an example. Suppose in your company, there is a reasonable application use of some crude oil in your manufacturing process. Okay, crude oil. Or in an FMCG, which makes some eatables. There's a growing application of coconut oil. Okay, or mungfali oil. But that oil, suppose you are importing. You are importing mungfali oil, okay, say from Indonesia. Now, how do you apply artificial intelligence to Indonesia? Okay, how the groundnut oil in Indonesia has behaved price-wise in last 5-6 years. Okay, now this artificial intelligence application will at least bring you closer to price prediction. For what? Should we go for a 2-year import contract with the Indonesian company? It is like, when you borrow from a bank, the bank says you want fixed rate or flexible rate. But both the decisions are difficult. Equally, what is difficult? Should I go for a strategic agreement with my vendor supplier from Indonesia, from where I procure oil? Okay, so this requires what? What is the price behavior, supply behavior, government of Indonesia behavior? AI should help me. Number 5, designing a long-term approach to project the strategic cost to be incurred across the borders. Strategic costs. Okay. One strategic cost I can illustrate here is cost of insurance. Imagine the same example. Let us repeat. You are putting up a factory in Afghanistan, or for that matter, Guatemala or Nigeria from Africa. Okay. In the countries and states of huge uncertainty, I can tell you roughly, out of your total operating cost, minimum 30% cost could be the cost of insurance. 30%, because insurance is costly. So how do you view the strategic costs you are incurring across the borders? A smaller visible example could be you are importing ready-made dresses from Bangladesh. We all know Bangladesh is much ahead of India in terms of, I would say, clothes and ready-made dresses. Okay, now I'm dealing in some garment hosiery in India. 50% I make and 50% I import, and I'm importing from Bangladesh. So the strategic costing of my imports from Bangladesh. Okay, what is my long-term approach? Now Dhaka, Chitgaon is very close to Kolkata. Okay, we can even, reach out to these cities from Bangladesh, study, and then come back. So designing a long-term approach to project the strategic cost to be incurred across the borders. Okay, and there are n number of examples. Okay, my nephew and my niece and my nephew's wife, they are from Aurangabad. They source all those spices from Sri Lanka and they sell those in Aurangabad and nearby cities. I told them, study the place of procurement called Sri Lanka, study economically and apply, apply all your possible techniques to project the strategic costs. Number 6, defining a simple process to measure the impact of global taxes, concessions, hidden subsidies, insurance coverages, etc. What is the latest challenge for us, we management accountants? Latest challenge, मैं आपको याद दिलाता हूं. Many challenging, threatening statements made by the President of America. What he says? He says, we will levy same tariffs, that is import duties, on the commodities and services we are getting from India. Of course, this will add to inflation in America and the common Americans would suffer. We all know that. But then, do we work on proactive approach? कि ये कल होने वाला है, 6 महीने के बाद, 1 साल के बाद. How do I help my company? Let us be ready for this. Our exports to America or our imports from America, okay, are under a terrible pressure of uncertainty. ट्रम्प साहब ने कुछ किया है, कुछ बोला है, उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा? Okay, so can we create a very simple process which measures global taxes, concessions, hidden subsidies, etc. Like suppose there is an Indian company. It has got 19 factories across the globe. 19, huh? Out of 19, 4 are in India and 15 are outside. How do you do inter-plant, inter-factory comparison? Imagine you have one factory in Australia. Okay, second factory, say in a Gulf city, and third factory at say Chennai. How do you compare? For that, you design a simple process. Number 7, using the base allocation model for improving the efficacy of global supply chain. Allocation model. We know we have studied this model from operations research. Now, one recent example which we have gone through for our one client, okay, they make some cement-based small products which are very essential for construction. Now, they have a challenge. They want to supply to the customers from Bangalore. This company is Pune-based, but they want to supply to Bangalore. And now there are 2 choices available. One, create a production facility in Bangalore, on the outskirts of Bangalore. Produce there and supply to the customer. Or number 2, under allocation model, okay, put up a big rented warehouse close to Bangalore. Okay, and put all your inventories and stocks, ready-made stocks to sell in that warehouse. Now, which one would be cheaper? There is a capital cost, there is a revenue or operating cost, and then there are many non-financial challenges. Okay, you putting up a fresh plant, a very green kind of a project, make the product there and supply. It has got its own advantages and disadvantages versus inventory planning through a warehouse. So you have to use allocation model here, take the mathematical help, AI help, and design a simple supply chain. Okay, we proceed further. Number 8. Number 8 is designing a business model which maximizes the mixed advantage of a networking company. Business model. Okay. Now, what does it mean? Some of my commodities which I sell are directly imported, and I am a trader here in India. I import them from, say, Europe. Example could be chocolates. We all know European chocolates are globally preferred. There are some countries which are specially known for chocolates. So 50% of chocolates my company imports from Europe, and 50% of the remaining chocolates we make in India. Now, what should be my business model for procurement, manufacturing, inventory, distribution and sales, branding, advertising, marketing? What should be my business model? Okay, because I am now becoming a networking company. I remember I don't take a name. There was one automobile company and it was conducting only assembly of the components of a tractor. It was not manufacturing. Business model was assembly. So it had a facility that would assemble all the components of a tractor, and that made up tractor would be sold in a funny brand name by this company. Now, such business model cannot sustain in long run. Okay. And number two, you are an assembly player. Naturally, your profitability ROI also would be under pressure. So what is a business model? Okay, referring back to supply chain, distribution chain. Now here, strategic management accounting is applicable if you understand the business model. Let me simplify this example further. For each of my component which I am procuring from a vendor, okay, should I have 3 vendors or 4 vendors for every component? If I have too many vendors, managing them would be difficult. If I have very restricted number of vendors, then they would create a monopoly. I would over depend on them. Therefore, what is the economy of scale here? What number of vendors I should have for different components? Same example is applicable to my sales and distribution. Okay, so the strategic cost here is, should I have a bigger sales team, my own employees, or should I have a bigger number of distributors and stockists and dealers who are outsiders? So insiders are sales employees, outsiders are stockists and dealers. Okay, what should be my business model? Now, when you are listening to me, this becomes very, very interesting as an area of strategic management accounting. Okay. Number 9, defining sustainable validity of a production setup, okay, in the undeveloped countries. Undeveloped countries, not underdeveloped, not developing, undeveloped. I give you an example. Even today, Afghanistan is an undeveloped country. Although its cricket team is doing fantastically well, unbelievable, and Afghanistan cricket team is doing wonders. But Afghanistan as an economy, even today, is undeveloped. Okay, and now there is a proposal from Afghani government to your company. Your company is well known. Please come to Afghanistan. We'll give you 20-year tax holiday. Okay, 15-year free water, 20-year highly subsidized power, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so how do we do the project evaluation here? Now here comes the concept of social IRR, political IRR. What is IRR? Internal rate of return, which is a sub method of discounted cash flow. But here, can I have a concept of political IRR, social IRR? What it is? Let me simplify. Risk weighted IRR. So there is a socio-political risk in Afghanistan, which we earlier said, and therefore, how do I evaluate this project? Your regular methods of ARR, PBP, IRR, okay, NPV may not help here. You have to capture that data which you have not captured, okay, which is not quantitative, but very, very strategic. So if you are putting up a new production setup, okay, you have to something which we earlier said, combining and using managerial economics and management accounting. Number 10, developing a flexible foreign exchange management model to mitigate the rate volatility. Volatility of forex rate. This is a definitely a very, very rewarding area for us. Many management accountants do not handle foreign exchange. It is left to some MBAs in finance or chartered accountants. No, we should tap this foreign exchange management. But this refers back to what? We brushing up our understanding of macro or global economics. Products in exchange management, foreign exchange management. There are n number of products available in forex management. Okay, and they are basically there to manage the rate volatility. So when you go back from my session to your company may be importing or exporting. So there is a forex application, or there is a secondary indirect application. What it is? Your company is supplying a commodity, a component, to a company which is exporting. So you are a vendor making an auto component, okay, for an automobile manufacturer. So आपका component is a part of a vehicle which your customer is exporting. Now, my request to all of you, when you go back, study foreign exchange management. What scope of work it can create for you, whether you are in employment or in practice. This can be a very beautiful area which can expand your what you call scope of consulting practice as a management accountant. Why? Because we know now in last 2-3 decades, the globe has become an economy. The globe has become a market. Many SMEs are now directly importing and directly exporting without an adequate knowledge of foreign exchange management. In bigger companies like Tata's, Birla's, Mahindra's, Reliance, etc., they have their own methodology and their own expertise. Our area of scope is where SMEs. Okay, so please support SMEs in managing foreign exchange. Create a very simple model for them, and that should bring you new business scope. Next is designing a suitable business, revenue, and financing model for the SMEs. Example, I know one SME we are now working for. Annual turnover SME है around 90 to 100 crores. Okay, but their financial model is excessively based on application of own funds. Why? The father is very conservative, but the son is very ambitious, want to be aggressive. He wants to use borrowed funds. Balance sheet is very strong. The reserve to equity capital ratio is 20:1. The reserves are 20 times of the equity capital. So potentially highly rated balance sheet, and therefore any banker would be happy to offer finances to this company. If you ask me what is the Marwadi funda of doing business, I'm a Marwadi, therefore I'm making this statement. At what rate of cost of capital I get funds, and at what rate of ROI I invest those funds, is nothing but conducting business. So do I get funds at 9% and I use them for a 20% ROI? Is what is my financing model, revenue model. So you can design such models for your SMEs. Design a model on his laptop. Okay, a one percentage point to point basis point increase in ROI. Okay, should compel him to conduct what business? Say, example could be, suppose I am an automobile dealer. I am selling tractors of Mahindra and Mahindra or Swaraj or TAFE. Okay, but I do not know the connect between my ROI and my volume. Can we create a very simple model here? Okay, so that he feels very comfortable. Next is defining a suitable approach to manage working capital against inflation. इस मुद्दे से हमने शुरुआत करी थी. Against inflation, managing working capital. I made a detailed presentation on this topic, I think couple of weeks or months back, okay, on the same forum. Inflation is applicable distinctively to inventory and receivables, and of course, payables. Okay, so the inflation is applicable to inventory valuation, but it is indirectly applicable to my receivables. My receivables, if I collect them, okay, later by 2 months, the collection is delayed by 2 months. The purchasing power of my receivable, the real value of my receivable erodes with impact of inflation. So working capital management against inflation. It could be a different topic in a country like Japan against deflation. Very recently in China also. China is getting into the mode of recession and deflation for different reasons. Okay, so working capital management against inflation or deflation. There's a carbon manufacturing company, our client from Tamil Nadu. They have a carbon plant in China. And now the present discussion, I'm also party to the discussion. How do we understand China? The Chinese currency, its performance, okay, is impacted by the growing deflation and recession in China. Today we are talking in 2025. In 2027-28, China would be under terrible pressure of its homegrown recession. Why? Because China economy is 60% based on exports. And with its geopolitical ambitions of China, okay, there's a growing pressure on Chinese exports. People don't want to import from China. And this is impacting now China currency, China employment, China capacity usage, China infrastructure. Now here, therefore, we are dealing with a Chinese client, Chinese supplier, Chinese customer. Okay, how do we look at our working capital? If 50% of my working capital is imported commodities from China, the suitable approach we have to define. Okay, that is how you expand, okay, your scope of strategic management accounting. अगर मैं कहूँ, I have already referred to this. How do you combine? As I said, managerial economics, business economics with management accounting. Next, assisting the chambers of commerce in optimizing their various proposals to be made to the governments of various countries, especially about tariffs. I know one very senior cost accountant. Okay, I may not name him here. I respect him, and he's a very senior cost accountant. Okay, he developed a scope of consulting for what you call duties and anti-duties. Okay, for those countries from where I import or I export. Around 60% of his practice as a management accountant is only this area. Okay, understanding tariffs, the game of tariffs, and advising my clients beforehand, proactively. Okay, so tariff, the game of tariffs, I already referred to what Mr. Trump said. Okay, so tariff is going to be a bigger challenge for us management accountants in terms of uncertainty for product costing and pricing. So can you help your local chamber of commerce? You go back and first see, are you a member of a chamber of commerce? Do you know what the chambers are doing? Okay, when they propose to their respective governments. We all know Britain has come out of European Union. Okay, so who are the British companies with whom we are dealing? So Britain has got advantage and disadvantage of separating from European Union. But if you ask me, there are more disadvantages of separating from European Union for the British companies. In my opinion, they should have continued as part of the European Union with some more autonomy. That autonomy was offered to them by the European Union management. Anyway, so I just shared one example with you. The local example could be Chamber of Commerce of Goa, Chamber of Commerce of Bangalore or Hubli, Chamber of Commerce of Pune. I'm requesting you, go there, see their efforts, working on tariffs, GST tariffs, international GST, etc., and look at our role. Next is cross-border flows of capital, intellectual property rights, and other assets. I call it as integrated accounting. Just to share with you, I did good amount of work for the SEMA members from Colombo, Sri Lanka. SEMA, okay, which is a British body of management accountants. Some of you may be SEMA members. You might have studied the SEMA curriculum also. But why not get associated with SEMA practicing members from Colombo? This is an example. Huh? There is a growing scope of working in South Asia. I call it working for SAARC countries. SAARC is an economic collaboration among South Asian countries. Okay. So have you thought of helping some Bhutan-based company, Bangladesh-based company? Now Myanmar is closer, even a Myanmar-based company, Sri Lanka-based company, etc., etc. Okay. We can offer better knowledge, better expertise to the domestic management accountants from these neighboring countries. I have studied and I have visited, I have done some work in Indonesia for some Indonesian clients, also in Singapore. Okay. Now these countries, they want to work with us. Even the accountants practicing in those countries, they look forward to India for ideas, for knowledge support. हमें उनके साथ काम करना चाहिए. Okay, even I would say for that matter, which is an untapped area, are many Latin countries, like Brazil for that matter, Argentina for that matter. Okay, so these are the countries we must explore what is happening there in management accounting. If we are better off, knowledge-wise, expertise-wise, we should look at them. हमारा क्या हो रहा है? Sorry to make this statement, please forgive me. Okay. Most of us are looking at the same cake, size of cake, which is easily available. Okay, it is low-hanging fruits, and most of us compete there. Why? Look at new areas of scope and practice. Next is valuation of technology transfers and other rights and their accounting. Technology transfer. Patented technology is transferred to India. Okay. Now this valuation is very difficult. Not a simple valuation. Because you are talking about what? Valuation of intellectual property rights. How do you value patents and copyrights? This is one very big area for we management accountants. There's a great amount of, I would say, intrinsic cost benefit analysis. When you value a brand, when you value a patent, a copyright. Okay, so this is one area where we can help a lot. Just to share with you, under Jacobi & Associates, we have developed our own valuation methods where we have done very difficult valuations of knowledge-based companies, employee-based companies, companies based on IPR, and not so much on physical assets. So valuation of physical assets is easy. Valuing a machine, premises, okay, looking at super profits, valuing goodwill with all those classical methods is easy, not very challenging. What is challenging is valuation of my client business based on its business model. How do I value its supply chain proficiency, distribution chain expertise, okay, employee base knowledge set, the skill set. Okay, how do we value them? So yesterday's methods of goodwill, which are almost outdated, we have to develop new methods. We have to get them certified. Practice on those methods and see that your client is happy. So valuation of technology transfers and other rights and their accounting. हम अब आगे चलते हैं. What a few basic concepts we should appreciate. Okay, so that we can offer our services as management accountants in the arena of global uncertainty. I'm just giving you a ready-made list, When you go back from my session, Study them. I will suggest you to read some of the books authored by me. Okay, but let us look at them. Risk versus uncertainty, risk mitigation model, converting uncertainty into risk, etc., etc. Okay, so please study them. Number 2, business model, financial model, revenue model. Okay, what is business model and how it is impacted by the organizational ethos, structure, technology, etc. Number 3, who is a networking company? Okay, now what is the simple meaning of networking company? A company which depends beautifully, strategically on vendors and distributors. सारा काम मुझे नहीं करना है. Like, you know, an automobile manufacturing company may be procuring 80% components from outside. Will make only critical components like engine. Okay, very, very critical. Yeah, also distributing through dealers and distributors. So you are a networking company. Number 4, value chain. How can you expand the value chain of your company where you are working or a client company? Expand value chain. Add more value to the product. For example, your company is selling a product of 100 value utility for 100 rupees. Can you add a value 20 more to the 100? Now the value is 120 and your company is able to sell it for 150 rupees. Not 120 for 120 rupees. You can sell 120 value utility for 150 rupees. We call it incremental value cost profit analysis. I call it ICBA. Incremental cost benefit analysis. So if I offer 10% more benefit to my customer may be ready to pay me 20% more price. See, the pricing and costing of your what you call aeroplane services. You travel by Indigo, and if you decide not to procure anything on flight, not to buy from Indigo, बहुत costly होता है. So there is a bare minimum base ticket, maybe rupees say 2,500 or 3,000. You are traveling from Mumbai to Chennai for 1.5 hours. So you think, why should I pay to Indigo exorbitantly? And some of us, a Marwadi like me, may carry some homemade food. Now the air hostess can't tell me, भाई आप बाहर से food लाया यहाँ खाओ मत. हम खा लेते हैं. Okay, but then imagine the Indigo business model, Indigo financial model, Indigo revenue model. Okay, bare pricing, minimum pricing, incremental pricing, furthermore incremental. So economy class, business class, executive class, and the value added need not be real value. It may be esteemed value also. That I am traveling by business class. I am traveling by executive class. Okay, for which I am paying 60% more. This is what is value chain expansion, real expansion, notional. Now, number 5, value appropriation. I am coining this term popular in the industry. Value appropriation, इसको मैंने coining किया है. What it is? I offer only that much value or utility to my customer which he can pay for and expect from me. So what is value appropriation? It is not value dilution, not value engineering, not value analysis, value appropriation. Imagine in India, I always make this statement. Western India versus Eastern India. Western India is rich in terms of economy. Eastern India overall is poor in terms of economic understanding. Now, a product I'm selling in a poor city, poor town of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Orissa, okay, I can offer only that much value which the local customer can buy. That is value appropriation. Number 6, benchmarking. And that too, the difficult area, how do I convert technical benchmarks into financial benchmarks? or operational benchmarks into financial benchmarks. Number 7, holistic accounting. I told you, holistic accounting is nothing but cost benefit analysis of what I get from the government and what I give back to the government and society. Number 8, responsibility budgeting. What it is? Converting cost center into profit center and then converting profit center into investment center. Now, friends, I suggest you may read a couple of books authored by me. Number 1, you should read. That is my frank suggestion to you. Okay, my book with the title Strategic Planning, Execution and Measurement. I repeat, strategic planning, execution and measurement. Okay, it's available on Amazon. The second book I'm suggesting to you, about which I spoke yesterday, Aspiring to be a CEO. Aspiring to be a CEO. The third book you should read, authored by me, Strategic Financial Management, where you can read a chapter on valuation, a chapter on leasing, a chapter on innovative financial engineering. So the name of the book is Strategic Financial Management. And number 4, Making Finance Simple. You should read a book authored by me and my wife with a name Finance Made Simple. Okay, although you are a management accountant, but can we simplify finance so that our engineering colleagues from the organization, okay, are with us? And now, friends, I go further. Allotment model and decision support science. Brush up your understanding of operations research. Number 10, economic value added. We call it EVA. This is what you call old wine in new bottle done by the Americans. If you ask me, my frank submission is it is also equally an Indian, Marwadi or Gujarati or Sindhi concept. EVA or EVA. Okay, economic value added. If you apply it to well-known companies like Reliance, okay, for that matter, or even Hindustan Lever, there are chances that you may come across negative EVA, economic value added, done by a company like Reliance or Hindustan Lever. But what is EVA? You have to brush up your knowledge. It is nothing but simple example I can share with you. Tomorrow, my son comes to me. He says, Daddy, I want to do some business. Give me capital. He is asking for 1 crore rupees capital. मैंने बोला, son, I am giving you 1 crore capital, but I will charge you 10% interest. Son says, why dad? I am living with you. घर में ही है सारा, profit तो घर में ही आएगा. I tell him, no, I will charge you 10% interest, at least notionally. So on 1 crore, he should pay me 10 lakh rupees interest every year. Okay, the profit left after paying me the cost of capital is his economic value added. Okay, then we spoke about risk weighted ROI, how it is designed, how it is calculated. Okay, number 12, waves of change. There were 3 waves yesterday. What was that? Number 1, change in agriculture. Number 2, manufacturing. Number 3, service. Now number 4 is nanotechnology and number 5, artificial intelligence. Waves of change, how they will impact my company's business model. Therefore, the financial algorithm. Number 13, development index of a country. I am referring to what? Macroeconomics. For this, I am suggesting to you, read my other book, very, very useful to you, Economics of Survival. Economics of Survival, published by Manipal Universal Publication or Manipal University. Okay. Number 14, strategic management accounting. I have discussed this in my book, Strategic Financial Management. You may refer to it. And number 5, life cycle of a business enterprise. Where is your company in its life cycle? Is it at the phase of consolidation or market leadership? Where? Okay, you should brush up these concepts. So I now come to the last part of my discussion. We are already at around 12:45, 46. Okay. Some basic skills a CMA should possess to play a vital role in the uncertain global environment. There could be little repetition here, revision here, but just to make it clear, I have made a list. Economic insights and adjustment of inter-country factors. Number 2, algorithmic analysis, applying decision support science, artificial intelligence, etc., which is number 4. Number 3, entrepreneurial maturity. So when you work as a management accountant for your company or as a consultant, okay, wear the hat of an entrepreneur. Application of artificial intelligence, we spoke a lot. Number 5, strategic thinking. So when you want to apply strategic management accounting, you should be thinking like a strategist, for which I suggested you to read my book on strategic planning. Number 6, CBA, cost benefit analysis, especially applying CBA to qualitative technical parameters. Number 7, accounting for changing price levels. In simple language, it is called inflation accounting, where you have two variations, replacement costing and realizable value costing. Okay, that is called inflation accounting. There are n number of books on inflation accounting. Number 8, innovations in finance. Okay, innovations in finance. You can refer to my book. I repeat, strategic financial management. Number 9, technological appreciation. Very important. If you are consulting or working in a certain industry, understand the technology thoroughly. You are working in mining industry, automobile industry, FMCG, infrastructure industry. आपका technological ज्ञान कितना है? Okay. Number 10, behavioral and sensitivity analysis. If you can draw, design a sensitivity analysis program for your client, he would be very, very happy. Okay. Sensitivity analysis of costing and pricing, of importing and exporting, of a change in business model, etc., etc. So these are some of the basic skills, okay, we CMAs should know. So there is a big thank you to all of you. There are 10-11 minutes available. If you have any queries, questions, or you have some point to be made, my request would be you can unmute yourself, raise your point. Okay, and that is how
Actually, the participants will just be able to write the questions down in the chat box. They'll not be able to speak.
Acha. My request
so
to you
there's
then,
one question from one member.
Yeah.
He said that it is not clear. Sorry.
Can you read out the question?
Yeah, sir. He's saying not clear on what role can management accountant play in the scenario of reduced capital formation worldwide. Please clarify.
Oh, I think I refer to it, but let me repeat my answer.
Yeah.
Okay. With the reducing amount of capital formation, how do I help my SME client? Okay, I can help my SME client through many innovative ways. Can I raise funds locally? Okay, and that too without going to my regular formal bankers. One example could be, can I raise capital from my community? Okay, we call it community collective financing. Number 1. Number 2, on a larger base, can I look out for financing outside the country? But one SME cannot do this. If you refer back to Chamber of Commerce and 100 SMEs come together, there can be bigger ticket of borrowing from a Japanese bank. A Japanese bank individually will not finance a small Indian SME. Okay, so like there is a Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce. which has got thousands of SMEs as members. So if it is done at the level of the Chamber of Commerce, then financing becomes easy. This was my small answer to his query. But if you can read my book, Strategic Financial Management, there are 2 chapters on capital sourcing. Okay, capex management. That's my answer.
Thank you, sir. So if any other member has any questions, you can please write down in the chat box. No questions as yet, sir. So I would like.
My request is I
Hmm.
can share my contact number, WhatsApp number.
Yeah.
It is 98200
I'll put this down in the, yeah.
62116. So even tomorrow, day after tomorrow, if they have a query, they can write a WhatsApp message to me, because we are all from the same fraternity of management accountants. So if they are not able to ask me now, they can ask me later also, no problem.
Right, sir. So I hope the members have noted down. Sir, if you could repeat, I will just post this in the group.
98200
Yeah.
62116 is my mobile number. They can write me a WhatsApp message. I will answer them back.
So I've published your mobile number.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you very much, sir, on behalf of the International Affairs Department. This was very knowledgeable, resourceful session where we had a brush up on all our technical concepts after a long time, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. And sir, actually the concepts that you go, the merging of managerial economics with the management accountancy, which is the buzzword for today in the international business management. Thank you, sir. So on behalf of our chairman, Dr. Ashish Thatte, also I thank you, sir. This is the first webinar of the International Affairs Committee that we have started with. So we look forward to many more sessions from you and other faculty. So thank you on everybody's behalf, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.